Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, we all know the TSP has 5 core fund options: G Fund, F Fund, C Fund, S Fund, and I Fund. If you want to know more about those 5 core options, this is not the video for you. I'm not going to talk about those. I've got other videos on those options. Today, I'm going to show you the different options, the other options the TSP has to offer, and the pros, cons, and the good, bad, and the ugly. We'll talk about that, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. So good to have you. My name is Dallin Hawes. I'm a financial planner who serves federal employees just like you, and I love it. So let's dive in. There are really 2 options outside the core options. Okay, so we got core here. Those are the core options. Again, the G Fund, F Fund, C Fund, S, and I. We have the L funds. The L funds, and then we have the mutual fund window. Okay, mutual fund window. So again, if you want to know more about the core funds, I'm not going to go into them. However, the L funds are what many of you here right now are invested in. I know it because I talk to lots and lots of federal employees, and a huge portion of feds are in the L funds. Now, what are the L funds? L funds basically are funds that look something like this, where you may be in the L2030 fund or the L2045. Every L fund, there's probably about 10 different L funds, have a date attached to the name. And the further away that date is from today, the more aggressive it is. So the idea behind the L funds is you pick the L fund closest to your retirement date and you invest in that, and it gets more conservative automatically for you as you approach the date that the L fund is named after. That is the core idea. Now, in practice, what we found out, this does not apply to everyone, may not apply to you, but in general, we found the L funds get too conservative if you use them how they're designed to be used. If you are retiring in the year 2030, the L2030 fund, for most people, gets too conservative if you just blindly follow that. So what I recommend most people doing is you pick an L fund that's further away from your retirement date than your actual retirement date, right? So if you're retiring, let's say 2030, maybe you invest in the L2045. Now again, that does not apply to everyone, right? But got to put that disclaimer in there. But for a lot of people, it does a better job for them by picking one further out. So L funds aren't perfect, but they are pretty cool. They're pretty simple. They change automatically for you. So we like that. That's pretty cool. But the L funds themselves are actually just invested in the core funds themselves, just in different proportions. For example, I'm gonna make these numbers up, these percentages up. This will just be an example. Let's say the L2040 fund has, of course, the C Fund, S Fund, I Fund, G Fund, F Fund. Let's say it's 20% there, 10% there, 15% there, et cetera, et cetera. It's different mixes, and they will change. The percentages will change depending on how far away we are from those years. So those are the L funds. That's what the L funds are. They are just the core funds packaged up in a pretty nice way, and they change automatically over time. Now here is the mutual fund window. This is completely different. The mutual fund window is not just the core funds wrapped up into other things. It's completely different. And let me show you how this works. So let's say this is the TSP box, okay? This is your TSP account. You put money into it, and it works good, right? You invest in the L funds and the core funds, things are good. The mutual fund window is kind of a trap door. A lot of people don't know much about it. It's a trap door over here in the corner that you can put, basically, if you go through this trap door, it opens you up to a whole new universe of options. There are thousands and thousands of investment options over here if you go through that trap door. It's called the mutual fund window. And while it technically is, the money in there, if you do use it, is technically still within your TSP account, it acts almost like a separate account, where to use it, you have to move money out of the TSP and move it over to the mutual fund window. So it's technically still a part of your TSP, but to use the mutual fund window, you have to kind of move it over to that side. Now, a couple things. Before I dive into the details of the mutual fund window, the vast majority of federal employees should not use the mutual fund window. It's not worth using because the fees are incredibly high. So if If that's all you need to know, perfect. You can stop watching there. If you want to know why the fees are high and how it works, let's talk about it. So there are different types of fees you pay when you use the mutual fund window. There's an annual fee. Last time I checked, it was like $95. You can fact check that. It maybe changes over time. There's another maintenance fee of like $45. And they charge you about $28 every trade. In the TSP itself, you don't pay any fees to change between, let's say, the C fund or the S fund or the L funds. There's no fees for trading, moving your money between those funds. But in the mutual fund window, there are fees. You pay money to change your investments, okay? Now, those fees that I talked about so far, the annual fees, the trade fees, those are nothing compared to this next fee. So if you didn't know, every time you invest in a fund, let's say the C fund, for example, the S fund, every fund out there pretty much has a fee to put your money into it to invest. Most of the TSP funds have exceptionally low fees. I don't have them all memorized, but they're all kind of close to 0.05%, okay? 0.05%. So it's very, very small, very, very small. And that's one of the reasons TSP is so good, because the fees to be in TSP are so small. We like that. However, over in the mutual fund window, the vast majority, basically all of the funds over there, have much, much higher fees. There's some that even have fees up to, let's say, 1%, which is a huge number compared to 0.05, right? It's a huge, huge difference. For example, if you are paying 0.5, so 0.5%, that's 10 times. You're paying 10 times to be in a mutual fund window fund compared to, let's say, something in the core TSP. Now, the reason we don't know exactly what the fee is because there's thousands of mutual fund options. The exact fee you would pay depends on which fund you're in. They all are a little different. So, long story short, the average person should just stick with the core fund or an L fund because the fees are so low, and should not use the mutual fund window because of the fees. It gets crazy. So I hope that helps. Those are the options. That's what you can invest in the TSP. Core funds, L funds, mutual fund window. That's it. That's what you have. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.